Give me just 1 second for this to load up. Okay. Here we go. So if everybody will just mute yourself, if you're unmuted by any chance, if you could just go on mute for me, I appreciate that. And again, I do definitely appreciate everybody tapping in, on this presentation tonight. I'm pretty excited, as I mentioned, this is inoculation, the very first premiere of the Celtic psychedelic mushroom cults of Ireland. And I'll be your curator and host tonight. Of course, my name is Ankara, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of my ancestry, some of my love, and some of my research with y'all tonight. I spent a good amount of time going deep with this particular topic, and we'll find out exactly why here in just a minute. Let's see. Okay, so most of you already know me, Ankara Akiru. I'm the Ankh alchemist. I'm a loving father. I'm a world bridger, psilocybin integration mentor, adept etymologist. So I break down the language codes. And I'm also a builder of ancient future technologies. I work with crystals, minerals, and magnets, and build different tools, for the amplification and the exploration through the multiverse and the electromagnetic fields. And I'm also an entheogenic explorer. So, just a little bit about me. If we're meeting for the first time, I appreciate, this connection. And I look forward to, growing this family and sharing this info with everyone tonight. So wanted to start out with just, a little shout out to some of the family, the mentors, and the teachers tonight. And I'm gonna start out over here on this side with my grandmother, right, Lorene McNally, and she was a big influence in my life as far as my connection with nature. And I remember, she used to teach me how to cut the grass and stuff, but she also took me on my first journey to the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina. And that's where I really, found my love and my connection with nature. So my grandmother, Lorene, sending a shout out, love to her tonight. And also, some of these other folks here in this collage that I created for you all is, some of the people that are very influential and mean a lot to me. So this man over here to the left, some of you might know him, Prophet Von Michael Benjamin, Aki Becca from the group Midnight St. Croix Reggae Legends. He was a dear friend of mine and teacher, and he had a massive influence in my life. And I'm super grateful to have him as an ancestor and a teacher, in this time. And, it was through a live concert that I went to back in somewhere around 2007 and 2008. And I met this man over here on the far right-hand corner named Ras Naim. And Ras Naim became one of my teachers, my best friends of 13 years. And, major influencer and mentor in my life. He gave me the skills and, the inspiration to start working with the ancient future technologies and building crystal synergy yonks. And you can see some of the tools that they're working with here, as well as Ross Bin to the middle here, who was a big influence on my life, as well as a mentor and author and, just good friend as well. I recommend checking out his work. This is my mentor, Yvonne de la Flor. She walked me through a transcendental rebirthing experience. and also introduced me to codology and the codes of absolute harmony. Um, we have over here to the far left, Ahati Kalindi EE, who was a major influence in this evening's presentation. And he really inspired me to come forward with what I had to share, you know, and this connection with the mushrooms and with the entheogens, and coming forward as a leader, you know, and an educator and an advocate for the entheogenic technologies that we work with. And then, you know, a student of his over here to the top left is Darren LeBaron. And recently I got to watch a presentation that this man put together. And he's a long time student of Baba Kalindi. And, you know, he's just phenomenal mycologist and educator, and just a really, you know, amazing family man. And he influenced me to actually look into my own culture, because he was sharing about the connection with the African culture and the entheogenic mushrooms. And so when I, you know, watched his presentation, he influenced me to look into my culture, right? To understand my culture. And then I started, you know, I already had the connection and frame of these other plant teachers as well that came into my life over the last 20 years. The peyote teacher down here, we've got the tobacco plant, the cannabis, of course, the mushroom teachers. Definitely have to, you know, give it up to them. Been a very long and deep relationship. And then, you know, we got Grandmama Ayahuasca right over here in the background, you know, the combo. So all the good stuff. Even looks like maybe a couple little tabs over there. All right, so my why. So this is my why right here. So this is my mom over here. Her name is Karen McNelly. And then this is my daughter over here. This is two images of us, you know, on the left and right. So, you know, this is where we're coming from and where we're going over here with the elders and the parentage and the family lineage, you know, the Celtic bloodline, you know, on down to the future generations and my daughter Josiah Rain. And I remember she was wearing this shirt that said "I love Ireland," and I was just like, "What?" You know. And she has this. She loves Ireland, and I was like, "What is it about this whole thing?" So, with my daughter's inspiration and the inspiration of Darren LeBaron, I put this little presentation together, and I was inspired, you know, to know my ancestors and do some research, connect with the ancient history of my lineage, so that I could, you know, connect and understand where I come from and my relationship with the mushrooms. Okay, so we're gonna get into it now, fam. We're gonna talk about a little bit about the historical roots of who the Celtic people were, and we're gonna look just, you know, quickly, so we have a reference point about who these people were and kind of where they come from. This right here is a Cernunnos. We're gonna learn about him real soon, but that's a modern image of the guy we know as Cernunnos. Oh, okay, here we go. So this particular tribe known as the Celts were originally called the Tuatha de Dunan. Um, I hope I'm not murdering that name. Tuatha de Dunan, Tuatha de Dunan. And they were a tribe of people that came over to the island, and, you know, they were met by, you know, other people that were already inhabiting Ireland previous to this tribe of Dunan. And Oh, right here we got Thua de Dunan. Thua de Dunan. So this was a little thing to help me remember how to pronounce it. And they were the tribe of Dunan or Danan. And the scholars agree that Danan was the name of their goddess, and most probably Anu and Anan. So remember this right here, Anu. Where do we know that name from? You know, um, the Thua de Dunan were a supernatural race that resided in the other world, but they were able to interact with those living in the real world. So this is a little bit, this is a little bit of the mythical origins of the Celtic tribe, and then we're also going to look more like the historical standpoint. But this is a little bit just about the origins. Okay, give me 1 second because there's more people coming in. Let me admit everybody. Okay.
Ankara, if you give one of us co-host permissions, we can let people in from the waiting room. That way you can just keep doing your thing and not get interrupted.
Okay, I'm going to keep going because I don't know how to do
like
that.
had a huge comic book collection, but
Tastes like
also
potato salad.
he had every
That's
Studio Ghibli movie on like a DVD, and I was like,
Who's unmuted?
that's really cool. Like I've like never even heard of most of these. I've only seen like 5, and he's like, oh, you at least have like if you like it, you have to watch all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And he just like here, he just handed me all of his DVDs.
That's
like,
awesome.
Nobody that collects comic books just lends things out like this. So I was like, what? He's like,
Okay,
no,
give me
you
1
collect
second,
comic
Justin.
books.
You're
So
not
therefore, you
muted.
understand, like,
You're not muted.
if these are damaged, I'm going to stab you. And I was like,
whoa, that was intense.
Okay. My apologies, family. I'm not sure who that was, but whoever it was, just be sure to unmute yourself when you come in the room. So we've already started. For those of you that are just joining right now, appreciate you coming in. We're right kind of just at the beginning here, so I'm not going to go backwards, but welcome here. I appreciate you joining. We're just getting kicked off, and we're talking about the history of the Celtic people and where they come from. So we have kind of a root foundation from where to explore. All right, so the cult of the mushroom. More than one scholar have suggested that ancient Ireland was home to magic mushroom religion. American author Peter Lamborn Wilson wrote a book called Plowing the Clouds, saying that it makes perfect sense that Indo-Europeans use psychedelic drugs in their rituals. In fact, these psychedelic experiences could be the origin of the pagan religion that sprung up all over Ireland. Wilson is stunned that no one has connected psychedelics to Ireland because there's plenty of scope for a cult of the mushroom amongst the Celts, the old-fashioned Indo-Europeans so loyal to ancient ways and so fond of intoxication. Okay, so we know for sure through studies, through mythology and historical references that the ancient Celtic people worked with mushrooms, and we're gonna explore that a little bit further as we go on here. First, we're gonna talk about the best connection, and we're gonna talk more about these mythical origins of the tribe that is the Tuatha De Danann. So the best connection. Mag Tuired, a mystical plain in Ireland, which was the scene of 2 important battles. The first battle was between the Fir Bolg and the Tuatha De Danann, or race of gods. This is the battle that the De Danann overcame the Fir Bolg and won Ireland for themselves. But Nuada or Nuadu, the king of the gods, lost his hand in the battle. Okay, we're going to talk about this again in the near future about Nuada, you know, this king, the first king of the Celts. But we see that he lost his hand in the battle, and because of his flaw, he was no longer permitted to be the king. And Bress, so we see here Bress, this is, you know, potentially, you know, an English spelling of Bess, but he was the beautiful son of a goddess of and a Formor king who was chosen to rule in Nuada's stead. So the Formor king, this is important as well, this connection here, and we're going to talk more about this. But the people, the Firbolg and the Formors were in Ireland before the Celtics arrived, okay? So remember this part, the Formor kings, right? In Nuada. All right, we're gonna get into the actual psychedelic mushrooms that grow in Ireland, and we're gonna talk about the two main psychedelic mushrooms that grow readily from, you know, from modern times into ancient times, and those are known as the Amanita muscarias. Most everybody knows this mushroom cap. It's a little emoji icon that we even use. It's super famous and popular. Probably the most well-known mushroom, and then the Liberty caps. And these were the two specific species or varieties that grew over in Ireland and continue to grow to this day. So the Amanita muscaria was also known as the fly agaric, and it appears between August and November. This is important. They grow beneath certain select trees in a symbiotic relationship. Although this mushroom is classified as poisonous, reports of human deaths resulting from its ingestion are extremely rare. A deadly dose is estimated to be around 15 caps in total per person. A dose strong enough to give the user hallucination has been medically documented to be less than 1 cap. Okay, so the stuff, like, you want to be super careful if you are interested in this type of thing. There's definitely a process of drying it. And I actually connected recently with a woman who guides people through Amanita muscaria journeys. But I wouldn't recommend just picking one of these and eating them. These mushrooms have received an unnecessarily bad rap over the years. The danger with these little guys is that this mushroom does somewhat resemble a very poisonous one called the death cap. The death cap looks same, but tends to be white rather than red. After preparing the fly agaric for consumption, Druids were said to eat it for its hallucinogenic properties. It was believed that these hallucinogens conferred great knowledge and enlightened to those who received them. The fly agaric mushroom was a very important fungus to the Druids, and the Druids were the sort of like shamanic class, or the healers, the bards, and the sages of the Celtic culture. So the Druids were sort of like a like class or a craft that that was within the Celtic culture. So in fact, ancient people called it the flesh of the gods, and it was thought to put the Druids in direct communication with the universe when they ate it. Mushrooms are the above ground fruit of much larger organism that lives underground. We know that as the mycelium network, of course. And these things just pop up when the mycelium runs out of food and they need to reproduce. They produce this fruit, which then, you know, drops its spores from its gills and continues the cycle. It's really interesting, those spores, because those spores can exist in a complete void and travel through space, which is a whole nother presentation. And we're also going to be talking about Liberty caps tonight. And Liberty caps is the second type of magic mushroom that's found in Ireland. These caps can be found all over Ireland. They can be found in Phoenix Park in Dublin, right at the feet of the Pope's Cross. Woo! They prefer a south-facing slope with wet soil. These mushrooms are known as a stimulant and mind expander. People who take them report feeling at one with nature and the universe. Many also say that they have acquired knowledge from their trip. Throughout Irish history, liberty caps were taken by regular people. The psychedelic trip is milder than those of the Flyer Garrick, which was left to highly trained druids and other masters of the mushrooms. The fly Argaric was deemed too powerful for anyone who had not undertaken training at the higher levels of the mind. All right, Acacia knows about that one. Druids took these mushrooms and reported back to their lay people on the wisdoms the universe had transmitted to them while away with the fairies. Everybody with me? Everybody there?
Yes.
Anybody?
Yep. Yes.
All right. Just making sure y'all are there. Checking in. I want to keep it vibrant and high energy for you tonight, family. So gonna make sure this is a great presentation for you. So we're gonna dive a little bit deeper now into the gods and goddesses of the Celtic mushroom cult, and we're gonna find out some of the correspondences and correlations between the Celtic gods and goddesses of Ireland. So right away, before we go any farther, we of course have to honor the goddess, in this case, the goddess Brigid. She was one of the main and principal goddesses of the Celtic mythologies. And she appears as a member of the Tua de Dunin, the daughter of Dagda and the wife of Bess. You see here again, we got Bess. Let's look at Brigid, Celtic patron of smithcraft, healing, and poetry. The name Brigid means the high one. Her name means the high one, y'all. Okay, so in Proto-Celtic, bright or exalted one, from the Sanskrit brati, and is thought to refer to her association with the fire and the sun. She was born at sunrise. A tower of flame was said to have extended from the top of her head to the heavens, the fire in the head. Okay, let's check this out a little bit deeper. Oh, go back one here. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Oh. Okay. And there we go. All right, thank you. So the origin of Irish culture and language. The history of mythology of the Irish people leads to Mount Brandon, Ireland, the westernmost point of the Eurasia continent. Mount Brandon is the location of Tir Nanog, the Irish place of the forever young, the home of the goddess Brigid, also meaning bride. Brigid's dress is red with white spots, as is the wedding dress of all brides all across Asia. Brigid's goddess counterpart in the Himalayan and Central Asian all wear this same red dress with white spots. You also see this in many other shamanic cultures. You see this particular garb with the red and the white spots a lot. Here to the left, the goddess is embracing her birch tree. The goddess's divine mushroom is the only fruit of her massive underground body, the thallus. The goddess's divine mushroom is interconnected with the roots of her sacred white birch in a symbiotic relationship. The white birch, this is very important, okay? Let's put a note on this white birch here. symbiotic relationship. Okay, so the mycelium goes and connects with the roots and the plant network. Okay, so this now it can send information from one tree, like the mother tree, to maybe a younger tree that, you know, has a disease or is being attacked or something. She can send her energy, she can send information to this other tree through the mycelial network. And this mycelium grows, you know, particularly underneath the birch tree. And according to mythology, all those who came to Brigid provides a divine herb, a sacred mushroom that confers healing and immortality on those who eat it. The Irish Brigid and the other goddesses of Eurasia all live in sacred groves of birch trees where wear red dresses with white spots, the same as the dresses of the divine mushrooms she represents. Okay, so we know that the Amanitas are birch loving. They grow in birch forests. Okay, so this story here is the closest direct story that we can connect with the Celtic culture, the goddess Brigid, and the use of the Amanita muscaria mushrooms. So, you know, it's pretty blatant right here, but we are gonna, you know, go a little bit deeper with it. So in Ireland, we find a goddess in a red dress with white spots living in a sacred grove of birches, the tree of life of the divine mushroom, who confers healing and immortality. She teaches a language called Om or Aum. Vedic Sanskrit, the language of the Himalayan mushroom goddess, is also derived from Om. It's an easy pattern to see. Okay, so in this presentation, I want to really connect this, like, you know, I want to expand this, and this is going to be part, you know, part of what the second version, you know, 2.0 of this presentation. We're going to be diving deeper into this Celtic culture with all the other ancient world tribes and indigenous people throughout the planet. So Mount Brandon is located in the miraculous star mirror and is the westernmost point of the Eurasian landmass. If one is walking to the west, the last step on the land before stepping into the Atlantic Ocean is Mount Brandon, Ireland. Mount Brandon is where we find a pattern of connectedness still existing between the goddess, her tree of life, the birch, and the divine mushroom that heals all disease and confers immortality. This same pattern of the divine mushroom, the goddess, and the birch tree is recognizable all across Eurasia. Soma, so the miraculous healing and regenerative properties of Brigid's mushrooms are the same as the Himalayan goddess mushroom Soma, that lives near springs of waters in the heaven-like alpine birch forest of the Himalayas. The other mushrooms of goddesses of Central and West Asia wear the same red dress and white. Okay, we see it again, right? So it's in Ireland we find this goddess with the white spots and the red dress. She's living in the birch, and she teaches a language called Om. Super important. Let's remember that. Oh, here I wanted to just give a quick example. If you look at these Lakshmi, pop back again. Let me go back here. What do we see? The, you know, Lakshmi here and the different goddesses of the Vedic. They're, you know, they're wearing the red spotted dress. God is a mushroom, right? I hope everyone gets a kick out of this one. This was like the little comedic relief of the presentation, because, you know, it's obvious that the Catholic Church, you know, and Christianity has, you know, derived many of its stories and mythologies from these, you know, quote unquote pagan religions and earlier beliefs, and they had to utilize forms that would tell some of the ancient stories of the god and goddesses, but weave them into the new Christian religion. So I put these here because, you know, just to show, here's the Pope over here looking like a mushroom. I don't know. You can unmute yourself and laugh if you want. The Catholic Church transformed the goddess Brigid into Saint Brigid. They then fabricated the entire history for Saint Brigid, and then they had her die. We know that this mushroom was the mushroom of immortality. We've already mentioned that. So, you know,
Hey, Ankara.
Yeah.
Ankara, can I just say, in the words of the prophet, Babylon them copy.
Yeah, you can see it's just a carbon copy. You know what I mean? When you make a carbon copy, you got to go through the element, the blackness. You know what I mean? It's the black carbon that makes the transfer. Okay, so we're gonna dive in here with a little bit. We're gonna look deeper at some of these Celtic gods and goddesses, and we're going to talk about Cernunnos first. So I wanted to break down the what Cernunnos was and why he was significant in his correspondence to the mushroom. So he's arguably the most visually impressive and rather portentous of the ancient Celtic gods. Cernunnos is actually the general name given to the deity, the Horned One. Okay. As the horn god of the Celtic polytheism, Cernunnos is often associated with animals, forests, fertility, and even wealth. His very depiction mirrors such attributes with the conspicuous antlers of the stag on his head and the poetic epithets like the Lord of the Wild Things. Okay, so here we see an image of Cernunnos. This is on one of the, this is on a cauldron, an ancient Celtic cauldron right here. So we see that he's the horned god, okay? The horns of an ungulate, right? It says over here, he was associated, where is it? So the stag, right? These are ungulates, you know, and we're very familiar with how mushrooms grow out of the dung of the ungulates, right? So the compost that these hoofed and horned creatures produce is the food and the compost for the growth of the mycelial network. Okay, and then we see here that Cernunnos is usually holding or wearing a torque, and he's been seen holding a bag of coins or grain. Okay, we all know what mushrooms grow on, the grain, and the cornucopia, huh? So right here we have the torque, we've got the horns, we've got this funky little serpent, maybe mushroom looking thing over there. All right, so Cernunnos is related with the animals and hunting. Okay, so we know from like what Terence McKenna's stoned ape theory, we know that early man were hunter gatherers. Early man and woman were hunter gatherers, and they had to follow the ungulates. They had to follow the herds to source their foods on the hunt, and of course they would, you know, be tracking and trailing in the footsteps of the ungulates, which would leave their dung behind, and of course they would have a pretty easy access to a food source. So this is kind of, you know, the introduction, but we could see how, you know, we could relate this because Cernunnos was the goddess or the god of hunting. Okay, so that's an important point there. Let me just jump back over. So he also conjured how Cernunnos could be a god of the underworld. Okay, we talk about the underworld here again. There's starting to be a lot of correlations here. Horned gods were a popular image in the world mythology, as many shamanic cultures use sympathetic magic to appear as the animals. All right, that's definitely the the shamanic ways to be shapeshifters. When shamans wish to take on the attribute of a deer or an elk, they would wear the animal's fur and antlers. Okay, so this over here is an image from the Pillar of the Boatman, and it's an image of Cernunnos. And I just wanted to point out this. Does everybody see my my cursor on the screen? Like what I'm
Yeah.
you can see me outlining?
Yes.
Okay, so we see the mushroom on his head right here. I'm sure everybody sees that. I don't even have to point it out. He's got a mushroom head, and he's got these horns, again, the ungulate, and these are torques. All right, these rings here are torques. So, I was researching all of this stuff. This is a modern image of Cernunnos, but I even thought that was interesting because it looks like there's two mushrooms growing up beside his mouth and he's getting ready to consume them. So this is the torque that was popular, in the Celtic times, and it was much attributed to Cernunnos as as his horns or his distinctive cross-leg pose. I suppose that most seekers who are drawn to Cernunnos now seek a connection with nature and the underworld, but we know that the ancient Celts, we know that to the ancient Celts, his ability to give wealth and abundance was important too. Okay, so these were torques or like necklaces that people wore, and I did a lot extensive research on these, but these are just two that I found. Looks like mushrooms to me. I don't know if like maybe I'm just really forcing it here, but that's what I came up with anyways. And I just want a short quick disclaimer that this, a lot of this is based on research, and then a lot of this is like me connecting the dots here. Like I'm doing my own lane of research, and not everybody has put these things together. So I've just been looking at images and doing some of the ancient research and slowly connecting the dots here, and this is what I've come up with, the torque. Okay. Dagda. So this is another important. He's one of the all father of the Celts. Dagda is an important god in Irish mythology. One of the Tuatha de Dunan. The Dagda is important as a father figure, king, and druid. Okay, so he was in the shamanic lineage. He's associated with fertility, agriculture, maleness, and strength, as well as magic, druidry, and wisdom. Okay, so we can already see that he was associated with this druidic magic culture. He can control life and death with its weather and crops, as well as time and the seasons. He is often described as a large bearded man or giant wearing a hooded cloak. He owns a magic staff or club or mace, which kills with one end and brings life to the other, a cauldron which never runs empty, and a magic harp which can control men's emotions and change the seasons. Okay, so some of the important iconography here with Dagda is him being a druid, a magician, and working with this cauldron pot right here. This is a main source of his magic. As we know, the cauldron was very important in creating different brews, right? So I looked at Dagda's cauldron. I started pulling up images of these cauldrons that they found as, archaeological evidence of the Celtic cultures. And this is what I came up with. These are cauldrons. These are images of the different gods and goddesses, and a few of them are Dagda, imagery of Dagda himself, the All-Father. But I wanted to point out this one over here looks like he's got something in his hands. His head looks an awful lot like something I'm familiar with. This guy, his head looks familiar. I don't know if if anybody can see what I'm seeing, but I just started pulling this stuff up, and doing my research, and this is what I found. I found these cauldrons. We also know that cauldrons were to make these magical brews. Like what was he brewing in his cauldron? Quite potentially the magic mushroom. All right, the Tandragi man. So the Tandragi man, this is a ancient relic that was found, and this particular Tandragi man is also known as Nuada. We talked about him earlier. He was the first king of Tuatha. I keep mispronouncing this. Who wants to give it a stab? Who wants to pronounce the tribe of the Celts? Anybody? Tuatha? Tuatha? No, it's Tuatha. Tuatha De Danann. I still want to say this right, fam. Because
Tuatha De Danann.
Tuatha De Danann, because they're connected to the Twa people, right? The little people. That's why the leprechauns, right? So the Tuatha De Danann were these people from Sudani, and these ancient Neolithic people, which I'll get into later on, and why they left Africa and went up into Ireland. But it's the Tuatha De Danann.
Okay, Tuatha De Danann, and this was the husband to Boann. We're gonna find out about her next. But are we starting to see a pattern here? This guy is a effigy of Nuada, the first king of the Celts. Okay. I don't even have to keep pointing it out anymore. The goddess Boann. So the goddess Boann is the Irish goddess of inspiration, knowledge, fertility, and water. She's also the goddess of the Boyne River that flows through the Boyne Valley. Her name is interpreted as White Cow. She was the daughter of Delbiath of the Tuatha De Danann, and her husband actually, this is another name for the person I just showed, the Tandragi man, or the Nuada. She was the wife of Nuada, and her lover was Dagda. Okay, so she had a son named Angus. We know Angus beef. In order to hide their affair, the Dagda made the sun stand still for 9 months. Therefore, Angus was conceived, gestated, and born in 1 day. The point I'm making here, and I wanted to just show that she's the white cow, right? She's another horned goddess that represented the ungulates, the cows, right?
If I could just drop something real quick,
go, please.
Cara,
do it.
This is an aspect of the Kemetic god Hathor, who had the consort Bess, right? And so the river Isis, which flows right outside of the Oxford University, that's why it's called Oxford, right? And so this whole idea that the Celtics are one of the most authentic and ancient keepers of ancient Kemetic wisdom, outside of the continent of Alkebulan or Africa. So, it's all connected. See how she has the hawk right there, and it's all Kemetic roots just being transferred so that it could be safely removed from the chaos that was happening in ancient Kemet. And the Hyperborean Tuatha De Danann people were one of the most authentic keepers of that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jamal. Super crucial connection. And I created this collage just, you know, from Canva and put these images together. And this is what I was able to come up with, but it's all connected and synchronistic. And it's a great way to show the symbol of the goddess Boann, who we know produced the composting piles of the mycelial network.
Hey, bro, can I just mention something? Because like the cow poop obviously is the manure, right? For mushrooms. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting that she's like the white cow, and the poop of the cow grows the mushroom, right?
That's right.
So, and I've heard that it's like depending on the type of grass that the cow eats, because there's a certain type of grass, right? I believe in East Africa, there's a certain type of grass that has 5-MeO-DMT in it.
Right.
And so it's like the poop from that grass from the cow. I don't know. It's just interesting that it's all like she's the white cow. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, and so you see this correspondence with the horned goddess. You see this in Kemetic, you know, the Kemetic culture as well. The horned goddess, some know as Hathor, or what's the next name? Haru, Hathor.
Absolutely. I had something small to add in. Do you mind?
Yeah, let's do this. So let's take, let me see what time it is. It's 10. We only have 30 more minutes, but I feel like this is gonna go longer. So if y'all want to stick around and check it out, cool. If not, it's gonna be recorded so you can watch it later. But I'm ready to rock for sure. I do want to take a quick break. We're about an hour in, so how about you share with us a little bit, Acacia, and we'll take like a 5-minute break and then we'll all come back. Somebody's unmuted.
Someone in the background.
Sí. Le digo, ¿vas a salir? No, la como va a costar a dormir.
Mute yourself, please.
All right. So it was just something small I wanted to share with you, and Kara, just, you know, something kind of funny. So there's a name for mushrooms, or the Irish Soma by Peter Lambourne, I believe. The word is puka, or to be pook, Pooka, and basically what that word means is it means mushroom, or it's related to the word bee, or Scots Gaelic beacon, which is basically like variants like bocon or beacon. It means mushroom in Irish. So this connects the mushroom with honey and mead, and thus again with soma. And another Gaelic name for the mushroom is balag buachar, or little member or limb, or little penis of cow shit. Balag is the phallus, and the mushroom loves cow pies, but buachar specifically refers to the cow shit. You know, so I also wanted to talk about nuts of knowledge, if you wanted me to. Basically, the gathering of hazelnuts being mixed with the Liberty Cap mushroom in the Celtic legends, called Cuil Crimind, the hazelnuts of knowledge, or bubbles of wisdom, or Bolg Fis. And
yeah, let's tap in at the end, because I definitely want to hear this share. I haven't heard of this, and I want to hear at the end, but we've still got a good portion to go through, and I want to give everybody a quick break, and we'll come back in just a few minutes, just to be respectful of time, and then Acacia will hear what you have to share towards the end. Is that cool, everybody? Is that cool with you? Yeah, we're definitely going to be tapping into the Pookies as well. I got you covered on that one, Acacia. So Let's take a quick break, relieve yourself, grab some water, do what you need to do. We'll come right back in just 1 minute. I hope everybody is enjoying themselves tonight. Learning a lot. I hope you're all taking notes, and you'll dive a little bit deeper with the research. We'll just give another moment or two, just to maybe you want to stand up and stretch your legs, or step outside and take a few deep breaths of fresh air. Do what you got to do to get your head right. Maybe pack that bowl. And we'll get ready here to take off in just one more moment. All right. I wanted to talk about the Celtic sweat houses, and this is also gonna correspond a bit with this story with Bess that we're starting to connect the dots here with from the ancient Kemetic cultures. And the sweat houses, the Celts were also known to create sacred earth mound burials for their ancestors, which is we see in a lot of different cultures around the world, and particularly stemming from the the Olmecs and the Kemetics, and some of the other islands really around the world. These earth mounds and temples, pyramids were being built, but the Celts created these sweat lodges. And this is a shamanic place of cleansing. And so I found a couple images of the sweat lodges that were like ancient sweat lodges that were remnants from the Celtic culture. This particular mound was one, and then associated with it, just to the right here, is this kind of like saintly looking image. But if you look closely, even inside of this, you'll see the mushroom being displayed right here inside of this angelic, maybe goddess of Boann, maybe goddess Brigid, but definitely one of the ancient goddesses with the mushroom here in her chest. Okay, so the sweat houses, it was assumed that the Druids held ceremonies when consuming magic mushrooms, as is customary in shamanic traditions elsewhere in the world. Many cultures which consume psychedelics believe that the setting is paramount and proper ritual gives the most profound experience. So that's getting yourself right, you know, before you take the journey. It's surmised that the Druids would consume mushrooms and then sit in the sweat houses. These sweat houses are dotted all over Ireland's countryside, especially in the areas where mushrooms grow. Initially, they were thought to be hot houses to cure rheumatism. However, it makes more sense to think that these were for a psychedelic experience, particularly because sweating can make the experience more intense, and other shamanic cultures across the world have long used sweat houses for improving the psychedelic experience. All right, we're gonna tap in with those fairies with the little pookies. The fairies and mushrooms have been closely associated since time began in Ireland. Have you ever wondered why the two are so intertwined? Visions of fairies are strongly associated with mushrooms, that the Gaelic slang for fairies and mushrooms is the same, pookies. We just heard from Acacia sharing about this. Let that sink in for a minute. A magic mushroom trip has also been known to make the user go away with the fairies, or someone could be off with the pixies. And now you know why. Okay, so that's what, you know, it's interesting. The same word for mushrooms and fairies, right? Pookies. So even what we call, you know, you call your pookie, your baby or whatever, your honey. So the fairy rings, a lot of people have seen these, I'm sure, in your lifetime. They're rings that pop up in fields, and they, you know, grow in circular or crescent moon, but these specific ring shapes. And the mushrooms were associated with the fairy rings, and they were said to, like, that the fairies were dancing, you know, in circles, and that's where the mushrooms sprouted up. So we have another sort of connection here between the mushrooms and the fairies and the Celtic culture. And we have the gnomes. A gnome's cap is primarily a form of camouflage. If a gnome is out in the open and spots a human or other unwelcome threat, they will stand completely motionless and blend into the forest canopy among the wild forest mushrooms. Okay, so we always see these images of the gnomes, the elves, the little guys with these liberty cap, you know, mushroom hats on, dwelling among the flyer agarics. You know, this was their home. It's even said in the traditions that they would you know, hide amongst the mushrooms. So, you know, yet another correspondence with the Celtic culture and the mushrooms. Yes, machine elves. What the heck was I got to do with anything? So, machine elves, the gnomes, you know, the little green guys. What the ancient Kemetic culture called the one best. So this is just a little, you know, sample of what we're going to really be diving into on the second part of the presentation, but we're going to be going into the correspondence with Bess and Bress, the brother or the half son of the four Morians. Okay, if you remember early in the presentation, we know that Bess was the half son of the goddess of the Formor tribe. Okay. So Bess the gnome. Bess is the ancient Egyptian or Kemetic god of childbirth, fertility, sexuality, humor, and war, but served primarily as a protector of gods and pregnant women and children. So women that were going to be giving birth would put images of Bes outside their homes during the childbirthing process. He's regularly depicted as a dwarf. Sounds like a gnome or an elf or a little fairy to me. And he has long ears. He's bearded, prominent genitals, and bowed legs. Here I found this this image of Bes, which is like a little clay pottery thing, which is obviously from ancient times, but he's got this little disc. I don't know if it's a golden cap or a golden teacher or what it is, but it looks like a cap to me anyways. And then he also has this specific looking, you know, it may not be the Liberty cap, but he has this specific headdress that we also see as a commonality between the gnomes and the Kemetic god Bes. All right. So a little teaser there for part 2. Kemetic monuments, megaliths, and mushroom stones. Okay, the ancient megalith stone builders in Ireland, our ancient ancestors were extremely advanced. They constructed many monuments which showed a fantastic understanding of the seasons and celestial bodies, and they still stand now. These were centuries ahead of many other civilizations. Newgrange, which this over here is an image, right here on the right-hand side is an image of the Newgrange temple. And it was a monument of the monuments of the Noeth are among the oldest structures in the world, are remarkable for their sophistication. The burial passage tombs at Noeth even look like mushroom shaped. Did this knowledge come from the mind expanding use of mushrooms? So on the winter solstice, this the sun lines up in this doorway right here and shines through for about 17 minutes. So they created this monolithic structure, and here you see an overview of it. It's a restored the restored version, but Newgrange is one of the best examples in Europe of a type of monument known to archaeologists as a passage tomb or chamber cairn. It was constructed around 3200 BC, okay? So this is, you know, potentially the age of the Celtic people. According to the most reliable carbon-14 dates available from archaeology, this makes it more than 600 years older than the Giza pyramids and 1,000 years more ancient than Stonehenge. Let that sink in, fam. Newgrange in Ireland, 600 years older than the Giza pyramids. Okay, that's what they tell us. Immortality, Anthony Murphy of Mythical Ireland has written a book about Newgrange called Newgrange Monument, the Immortality, which examines the archaeology, the cosmology, and the spirituality of the monument and its people, and reaches interesting conclusions. The book suggests that the builders of the monument were aware of the near-death experience. Okay, near-death seems to be, from my research, very, very closely correspondent with the psychedelic or entheogenic experience. Many are taken through a near-death or death experience and rebirthed again. So we see how this temple was created for the near-death experience. In the design of the passage, the opening towards the sun, it recreates the journey through the dark tunnel towards a brilliant light that is a central feature of many near-death experiences. Okay. The curbstones, these are stones. This one here was found at Newgrange as well. This is one of the, you know, monolithic monumental stones that's right at the site of Newgrange. So this is Celtic art, and this is another thing to think about, fam. While the LSD of the 60s made people collectively see paisleys, our Irish ancestors may have seen patterns that ended up carved onto rocks at Newgrange, like the swirling triskelion or triskelion. I see triskelion. Skeleton, like the lion, trinity. I don't know. I start taking that word apart, but I'll keep going. Shrooms is a group that advocates for the therapeutic use of magic mushrooms in Ireland. David is a spokesperson of shrooms, and he says, we have to look at the art and folklore to infer mushrooms used by the ancestors. The rock art in Noeth and Newgrange appear to depict entoptic patterns, which, according to some archaeologists, implies psychedelic medicine use by the artist. Okay, so we can see the Triskelions here. I don't know if you can see this right here, fam, but if you see what I see, this is actually a mirror image here. So it's kind of a little trick on the eye. But when I was pulling these images up, I found another mushroom. Imagine that. All right, so the Celtic lunar calendar. This was a calendar that is also found at the Newgrange site. Actually, no, this might be in a different site. I can't remember the location of this one, but I just wanted to, you know, look at these. I don't know if this is not a recurring pattern. This was a lunar, you know, symbol of the different seasons and cycles and things, but also looks an awful lot like the gills of a mushroom. To me, anyways. Again, a lot, all of this is, you know, something I put together from my own lens and, you know, from my understanding of my culture, the ancient Celts. So they also used the alm stones. It was the earliest form of writing in Ireland and dates to the 14th century AD. So these alm stones had alphabets basically, and these alphabets represented different types of trees. And the alphabet was basically like, there was different sections of the alphabet, but these are the alm stones. This is the language of the Celts that we spoke of that was created by the goddess Brigid earlier. It says it's spelled Oghem, but it's pronounced Om. Okay, so these are known as Om stones, and these are ancient, you know, sort of like hieroglyphics, if you will, from the Celtic culture, denoting different kings. Okay, so the first,
if you actually have to do like a lazy G when you say it, like oh, like oh. You kind of like it's lazy in the back of the mouth. Oh, that's what that G is.
Okay, thank you.
Which by the way, these stones are also in the museum in Morocco. That like the connection between North Africa and the Celts is just so profound. But go ahead.
All right, cool. I'm going to try to get through this because I want to give some time for questions and answers, but I also don't want to rush because this is, you know, super crucial information. I see that I did a misspell there. My apologies, family. Thanks for your patience. But I wanted to talk about how the first letter of the Celtic alphabet represents birch. Where do we see birch again? Okay, are we starting to connect the dots? This language of the Celts, the very first sound that came out was the sound of the birch tree, okay? This is where the mycelial network connects and grows. So they considered most trees to be highly sacred, containing the souls of their ancestors, right? So their language was based on these trees, the first letter being Beth or birch. Very interesting. I mean, this is just, you know, I don't know if maybe it's a stretch here, but I feel like I'm connecting some dots here and like really, you know, tapping in with what's really going on with the Celts. So this is a Celtic warrior. It's like a clay carving maybe. It's a Celtic warrior, the Prince of Galberg, excavated in Galberg, Germany, right? The warrior who carries the shield is wearing a male tunic and a torque necklace. Okay, so we see the torque again there. He's also got the elaborate headdress of the leaf crown, huh? Maybe kind of like Bess. And what's this he's eating right here? It looks like he's consuming something. I don't know what that is, but it looks like that golden disc or some type of cap. I don't know, family. I might be stretching the imagination here, but I hope that everybody's on the same page with me and we're getting this.
I actually had one thing. I mean, on that note, do you mind if I say something?
Go ahead, tap in.
All right, so the nuts of wisdom, like I was talking about.
Actually, hold on. Actually, Acacia, hold on 1 second, because we're getting to like the very last slides here, and I just want to get through this, and then we'll tap in with you, just because we're so close to the end here. Do you mind?
Cool beans. No worries.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So this is a little bit more of my research later on in the 11th century. We start to find these stone mushrooms cropping up in Ireland, okay? The Cistercian monk, they said that they carved these to use as baffles for the grain. Again, we've got grain. We're talking about grain here. They used them to protect them from the mice and the rats. And these were gathered from these collectors in Dublin, Ireland, and put together in one of their gardens here. But these were stones that the Catholic monks used to protect their granary. Okay. Wait, I feel like I'm missing something. Okay, so that's the end. Let me just go back really, really quick, because I feel like I skipped. No, I guess that's it. Okay. Well, that's the end, family. You know, I appreciate y'all coming through. It's actually, we're good time. It's actually 10:30 right now, exactly an hour and a half. So, you know, I do appreciate all the love and support, everybody coming through tonight. I wanted to thank you so much, you know, for coming out, for investing in yourself and investing in me and in my research and my work. You know, thank you again for taking time out, tapping in. I wanted to let all of you know that this is some of my current offerings. You know, I do psychedelic integration mentorship. I have a program going on right now that's called the Cosmic Gatekeepers. We're not enrolling currently. We are in the middle, and I think, you know, there's some students. I'm sure there's students in the room tonight of the Cosmic Gatekeepers, but it's a psychedelic facilitator mentorship program, and that will be finishing up in November and probably running the next course in January. Also wanted to mention that I do one-on-one integration coaching, and that can be done virtually. I also create custom crystal synergy uncs and copper pyramid portals. You know, great, amazing ancient future technologies to tap in and navigate the transdimensional space. And we also do the codes of absolute harmony activation. So if you want to get your chakras right, you know, want to clean out some of the cobwebs, the blockages and stagnations, and get your energy centers fully activated, we can do codes of session. And you all can reach out to me, you know, in these different spaces over here. I'm on Instagram. I prefer you follow Psilocipher Sessions, because this account is sort of restricted. And if you're in Clubhouse, I know some of you from Clubhouse, but if you're not already following in Clubhouse, this is my handle right here, psilocybin444. And, you know, you can all reach out to me through my email as well, which I don't have here. That's cosmicrootscreations@gmail.com. So, you know, I'm super, super grateful. Thank you so much. We're going to stick around and hear from my brethren Jamal and also Acacia and tap in a little bit deeper. So if y'all want to stay around for more and hear what's gonna be unveiled, you're welcome to do that. If you've got to leave right now, I appreciate you, and you're welcome to always tap back in for the recording later on. But yeah, family, I want to give a moment. Maybe y'all can tap in and share something with me, maybe something you gained or a curiosity. We're going to do a quick little session, and then we'll open up and hear more from Acacia and my brother Jamal. Anybody there?
Yeah, man, we're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great talk. Thank you.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, I definitely needed that. I needed to chime in on this stuff, so it keeps me in line.
Beautiful. Amazing. Yeah, I know it was. I'm pretty surprised. We went an hour and a half, and there was like so much more, fam, that like I didn't have an opportunity to pack in there. Like I said, I really want to respect your times and honor the fact that we've all got lives to live and enjoy. And I'm sure that you enjoyed this evening, and I appreciate everybody taking moments. But if you have questions, concerns, you can ask me. And otherwise, I would love to hear from Acacia. I think she has something to tap in about the hazelnuts. Maybe we'll hear from you,
Yeah.
and then we'll take questions.
Okay, brother. Thanks so much for having me, and I really enjoyed talking to you today and just chilling. And so remember how you're talking about the birch trees, right, bro?
That's right.
All right, so I made a huge connection. I guess, do you want me to share my screen or do you want me to just read it?
I don't know if I can. I'm a little rusty on the navigation here.
It's all good. I could just read it. It's a really quick story. Can I tell a story real quick?
Yeah, please go ahead.
So in Irish mythology, the Tuatha de Danann are the old pre-Christian gods and goddesses who now inhabit the other world as the city or the fairies. They were closely in alignment with the heroes of Celtic myths spanning the whole Celtic world. One well-known Gaelic story from the boyhood exploits of Fionn mac Cumhaill, or McCool, tells how the mythical Celtic hero Fionn gained his magical knowledge and all of his teachers' knowledge by sucking his thumb after scalding it in the druid Finnegis's cauldron. The cauldron contained the famed and hard-won salmon of wisdom, who had been eating the nuts of knowledge. It was forbidden that anyone but the druid consume any part of this, as it imparted special knowledge to anyone that ate it. Okay? So what are the nuts of knowledge? Why the thumb motif? Liberty caps and hazelnuts both appear in autumn, and the liberty caps mushrooms' distinctive nut brown pointed caps actually resemble hazelnuts. Hazelnut is in the birch tree family, actually, and it looks just like the white birch tree that's featured with the goddess Brigid. So on immersion in water, after a hazelnut becomes soft, just like a mushroom cap, they taste similar. In other words, once cooked in water, they both become indistinguishable from each other. So it seems plausible that these nuts of knowledge may have actually been liberty cap mushrooms cooked with salmon, thus rendering the meal vision-inducing. We can then imagine the druid going and gathering hazelnuts while he is in fact secretly collecting magic mushrooms. Their similarity to little thumbs poking up from the grass may explain the thumb of Fionn idea. Okay? So that's the story I wanted to tell. I hope that was okay.
That was great. No, that was actually a crucial part, and I left it out of the presentation. So I appreciate you sharing that, because it is there. A lot of the mythology, if you the Celts had these things called the cycles, which was the way for researchers and studiers of the Celtic culture had a way of like sort of analoging or talking about the histories. And so they have these different cycles. And the story that the Fionn is a particular one of the last cycles in the Celtic mythologies. But it's really interesting because, like I mentioned before, they, you know, they were said to come from the underworld or from another plane of existence, you know, and some of these, so we, you know, the historical evidence and then the mythologies all really start to meet, and that's where you have to do some of the assumptions, because the Catholic Church did a really great job of deleting any information that led to one having the knowledge of the sacred plant medicines. And so, you know, that's why I put that specific portion in the presentation, because a lot of the stuff that we see in the Celtic and Christian religion is just sort of like a regurgitation and whitewashing of the original stories of these Celtic and Druidic and really like all the ancient cultures. Because what, you know, in the second part we'll dive into this ancient Kemetic connection with the Celts and the even Celtic, Kemetic, the Celts, the Kemites. You know, it sounds super same. They're the Kente tribe, the kilt that they wore. There's a lot of, you know, etymological and actual historical references that we can check that actually confer that, you know, these were definitely the works of our ancestors, like and they have traceable roots.
Small last thing. Can I just share this word meaning?
Yeah, I would love to hear that. And then Jamal, if you have anything to share, we'll open up for a Q&A. Any last questions or comments? But yeah, go ahead, Acacia.
So T. White discovered there's a Gaelic word that means both mushroom and nut. So going back to how you say, like, they made sure that they had to kind of force the system into hiding. So, you know, in research, this word bulg or
Acacia, you cut out. Bog. She mentioned bog. That was one of the fur. If you remember, the fur bog was one of the former tribes that dwelled in Ireland before the Celts arrived on the island. And then there's also the association with the
Sar, who was later called Osiris, right? And so you have this this connection between the Phoenicians, the Formors, and the Amazigh people of North Africa, who were the first ones to be on record to honor not a god, but their ancestor. They called the mushroom god Osiris their ancestor, who gave them knowledge and information. And you see this later show up as a Manon, who we'll probably get into in the next session. There's also Huhesus, who was a Celtic, the fairy of the oak tree, and that's where you get Eosis or Jesus later on, who is very connected to the cult of the mushroom. And just some references that you all might want to check out. The Atlantean by Bob Quinn. That's a documentary series I strongly recommend. Again, it's called The Atlantean by Bob Quinn. You'll find the first and second segment of that documentary, but for some reason they will not put the third out. You only see it advertised on the website, and that's the Celtic and Egyptian connection. So I'm still looking for that, but there's plenty of information out there. And for any of you interested in looking at the Celtic and Native Indigenous American people of the Americas, there's the book Old World Roots of the Cherokee, which discusses this connection between the Phoenician people, the Celtic people, the ancient Ionian Greek people, and the Tsalagi, Choctaw, Muskogee, and these various other tribes. So I just want to end with this. You know, so many of us have these roots inside of our genetics, and we don't even know it. You know, especially for melanated people from the diaspora, you know, who whether through force or whether through, you know, their own volition, had Celtic genetics mixed with our genetics. And whether that be through, you know, the indentured servitude of those who, you know, our ancestors who picked cotton, or the Melungeon people who were the mixed race people that were already here, of Tennessee and Carolinas and Georgia. We have these genetics inside of us. And so the beauty of this information that Brother Ankara has given is that it unifies us to realize that we come from these genetic root sources that that were very, very deeply involved with honoring both the divine feminine and also the sacred mushroom. And lastly, I want to just give another book to refer you all to. It's called The Serpent and the Goddess, and that's by Mary Condren. There's an hour of the first chapter that's read on YouTube, which I strongly recommend, by a guy named Cthulhu of Venus. And that goes into why the Roman Catholic Church really targeted the Celtic people and the Irish people, because they were the strongest and deepest root to a more ancient African indigenous culture, and their medicine path with regards to Brigid and the birch tree and the 13 trees of astrology. It was something that first the Catholic Church had to destroy, and then they had to take it and copy it and recreate it and graft it into their own false narrative. So yeah, that book, I'll just give one more too. The Handbook of Celtic Astrology by Helena Patterson goes in deep into all the information about which connection you have to a tree based on your sign that you're born under, and the information that the good sister Acacia gave about the hazelnut tree and the salmon and fin and its connection to the mushroom is inside that book, Celtic Astrology, as well. So with that, I'm complete. I love you all. Deep appreciation and gratitude for this, Brother Ankara. Really, really appreciate your acumen. Kudos to you.